Hello, my name is Doris, and I'm also known as Craftin' Lass, and this is my first YouTube video, and I'm going to be making a card, a tutorial, so hopefully you'll be able to make a card like this. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make the card, the scallop card, using Spellbinder's Nestabilities. I keep my Spellbinders in these nice cases. It has a magnetic back, and you could just put your Nestabilities in there, and it holds them in place. So, and I'll have that on my blog with full instructions and all the supplies that I use to make this card. So first we're going to start off again with the Nestabilities from Spellbinders. We're going to use the largest scallop die cut. And it has some etchings here, which are the actual little blades that will cut the paper. So let's start with that. I have some pink cardstock that it's unfolded cardstock that you would typically use to make a card, but in this sense, in this instance, we're going to use it for a scallop card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the Nestabilities on the card on the folded side, and what I like to do is just have a little opening of 3 scallops. 1, 2, 3. I always count that in my head, and I know that this is going to be the fold part, but these 3 little scallops are not going to cut in to the fold. Okay, so we're going to use our Provo Craft Cuttlebug, and we're going to lay our A plate first, our B plate second, and then we're going to lay our cardstock with the die cut from Nestabilities, and again I like to make sure my little 3 are hanging out, and then we're going to put the C plate on top and sandwich it between the cardstock and the die cut, sandwich between the B and the C. So now let's give this a turn, and we're going to run our die cut sandwich through these plates, so it goes all the way, passes through, and then what I like to do is just send it right back. Okay, and now you have your folded scallop card. There you go. Now we're going to go to use the second to the largest die cut of the Spellbinder's Nestabilities to make the second cut for the card. So we're going to use this light pink paper cardstock, and we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to make sure that there's 3 little scallops outside of the card. This does not have a fold. This is just going to be another layer for the card. All right, let's work on the background now. So we have our scallop paper here, and we have our ink pad, and this ink pad is called Studio G, and I got it in the dollar bin at Michael's, so it was a great deal. They're pigment inks, and they come in all kinds of colors. Another thing that I like to do when I work with stamps and what we're about to do is I'm going to use this ink pad, and I'm going to work around the border of the scallop. I'm going to dab some ink, and then with this cosmetic wedge that costs, and I buy them all the time, they're about $1. They come in a bag if you buy them at the dollar stores, and I'm going to ink around the edge of this scallop. And that moaning you hear in the background, that's my pug. So her name's Wheezy, so there's no avoiding it. You are going to hear Wheezy from time to time. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just inking around the border, and I'm making a strong impression right now so that you can see it. And so there you go. What I'm going to do is I have this rubber stamp. It's from Stamp in the Hand, and they have conventions here in Southern California, and I believe in San Jose as well, in Northern California, and in March they'll have their rubber stamp convention. But here's one of their stamps, and I love this rubber stamp because it makes a great background stamp. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking this ink pad and I'm putting ink on this rubber stamp, and now I'm going to stamp the scallop. So it'll make a nice background. And see how moist it is? The pigment, it just lifts the cardstock right off my paper. And this paper, I bought at some discount store. They were just getting rid of construction paper that, you know, you buy for kids' school. And I thought, you know, this paper is great to use, you know, if I don't want to mess up the surface of my table or anything like this. Paper's really good. So anyways, so now we have the scallop. It has the ink around the edges, and as well as the words, the background stamp that I used from the Stamp in the Hand. So now this is going to be another layer for our card. Okay, what I've done so far off camera is I've glued our background scallop to the folded scallop card. And now we need to work on another layer, and that is going to be the polka dot round surface that we have here behind Tilda. So we're going to work on that round white polka dot embossed background. What we're going to use are these embossing folders. They're made for the Cuddle Bug, and we're going to put in layer A. We're going to put plate B, our Cuddle Bug embossed, polka dot embossed with the paper inside, sandwiched inside the embossing folder. Going to lay that down. Put another plate B on top of it, and we're going to run it through. And now what I'm going to do is I need that circle background. So I have this large Marvy die cut, or hole puncher I should say, not a die cut. And we're just going to put it through. And you can see right through that I've covered the entire surface for that paper, so nothing's sticking out. And I just press right through it. And now I have a circle for the background. Now we're going to glue this circle. Okay, now it's time to stamp up our image. We're going to use Lasting Impression Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. It's really great. I highly recommend it, especially if you're going to use watercolor or pens or inks. The images won't bleed, so it won't bleed if you're, you know, coloring them in. And we're going to use Magnolia rubber stamps. Love it. And Magnolia rubber stamps, we're going to be using Tilda holding a heart. I'm going to ink up our rubber stamp. And we're going to stamp her on white cardstock. I've used these Lyra skin tone pencils, and they come in all kinds of skin tones, and I wanted Tilda to have some color. Being that I'm a woman of color, I wanted her to have some color too. And so with color, it's really tricky because you really have to play with the colors to see how you want to blend them so that you can get a really nice complexion. So I played with these various brown tones to get an idea of what I wanted for Tilda's complexion. And one thing that you need to do when you're coloring a complexion, you need to, as I said, play with the pencils, work with your darkest colors around the edge to your lightest colors, and then you use a blender pen and blend those colors together. And what you have is this. For Tilda's cheeks, I used chalk and a little blusher here. It's a little swab that you can buy, and this clip. I got it at Michael's years ago, and they sell these little chalk balls at Michael's or Joann's, and you dab your chalk And you pick whatever. In my case, I picked a pink, and I dabbed in there. Look, it's falling apart. It fell down, so I'm sorry about that. And then you just put blush on her cheeks. For her hair, I used variation of blacks and browns, and just just mix the colors together for her hair. And then again, I used a blender pen to blend those colors together so that it looks like nice and smooth. I've completed coloring Tilda with the pencils, and now what I'm going to do is I just want to just do a little enhancement on the pink that I've used. And so I'm going to use one of these Jelly Roll pens. It's a glaze pen, and it's a pink color, and it's a little metallic. It has some metallic in it, so I'm just going to highlight her little heart that she's holding. So it'll stand out a bit with a little bit of glitter pen. And you may not be able to see it that well on camera, but I'm just going to give it a try. So I just outlined her little hanky and her heart. I just call this little piece of hanky and her heart, and just to give it a little glitz. I don't know if you can see that, but that's what I just did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blender pen, and I've outlined her wings a light blue, as well as her gown, but I'm going to leave her angel wings again alone. But what I'm going to do is draw in the color of her gown using a blender pen. So you outline the her clothing, as you can see, and then you just pull the color in. And as you pull the color in, it colors the gown. So now all her white gown is now a light blue. And I've cut her completely out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some foam tape on her back so that to give her some dimension. We're going to put some of this Stickles. It's a glitter with glue. And what I'm going to do is on the outside of the card, I'm going to apply the Stickles on the outline of Tilda. So it's all goopy right now, as you can see. It looks kind of thick, but when it dries, it's going to look like this. What we're going to do is we're going to embellish the card. When Hildy dries, she's going to be stamped with the foam tape on the outside of this card. And but what I can do in the meantime is put embellishments with the flowers along the side of the card, along the side of the fold. And what I did was I took these little white flowers. You can buy them at Michael's or anywhere, and they come in a big old bundle and in assorted colors. And these are pretty much primary colors. And what I did was I took one of the white flowers, and I used my G Studio ink pad, my makeup applicator, and I dabbed around the outside of the flower just to give it some color. And you probably can't see it, but there is a little bit of pink around the edges of this flower. And then what I did was with the blue flowers, I did a pattern of blue and white, blue and white, blue and white, as you can see here. And I used these beads that I had from a necklace, a broken necklace of fake beads, and I used my glue gun, and I adhered the flowers to the card, and then with my glue gun I adhered the fake pearls to the card. And the one flower in the middle, I had a brad, and so it's the only one that's different. And I raised this flower with some double foam tape so that it's just higher than the other ones. So that's how I embellished the sides with the card with flowers. And then what I did was I tied a bow with some fibers to the outside of the card in the middle of the fold, as you can see there. And that finished up the card.